I'm going to use a JProfiler to find out the class or the method or the corresponding method calls. And with this, I would be able to go back to the my developer and provide recommendation saying there's a huge amount of time is taken for a particular external call dot send get. Okay, that is how I'm going to use the JProfiler to troubleshoot my problem. Okay, it's a very simple preview example which I wanted to give it to you, right? We'll pass it on here for the this particular response time problem. Okay, similarly. Our next thing would be on so for the response time analysis, as I said, we'll be using JProfiler, JVisual VM. I'll be using Eclipse project and a war file deployed into Tomcat to find out the problem, debug it, and then fix it. Fourth is next session would be on the memory, right? Again, memory is a huge topic. Memory is a memory problems are something very quite common for us to, when even when during a performance testing, we would have seen a lot of out of memory exceptions, or during endurance tests, the memory growth is happening rapidly. After 3 hours, 5 hours, the server getting crashed, right? So we would have heard about the leaks, memory leak occurring in Java, taking the heap dump to understand the objects that are not properly handled, right? So all these general basics about memory, how it is handled by JVM, what are the leaks, how are we going to use the tools like Visual VM and JProfiler to identify the leaks, how we are going to fix it. So again, combination of theory, tool plus practical sessions, right? And that's how we are going to do it. Again, let me do a quick preview on what we are going to see. I'll go back to the my JProfiler. Okay, so I'll run a jar file which is having a memory problem. Going here. Okay, so I started a jar file, which is again a Java program, which is going to get executed, right? Let me open the JProfiler. Okay, there is something called a new PID has come for my memory issue.jar. I'll open it. Close my Tomcat so that it is not consuming memory. So it is connected to the memory issue.jar. I'll again try to attach it, validate memory issue.jar. Yes, sampling. Okay. So I'll go into my overview tab and memory is so far flat. So some operation is going on with my Java program. At some point of time, it is increased, say from 5 MB, it now went up to 340 MB, right? So it is growing. Okay, you could see here. So let it run for a couple of seconds. So normally what happens is, say for example, when I'm going to run a garbage collection, right? What will happen is the used heap will come down to a certain level for sure. Okay, and if it is not going to come down, then we can suspect a leak. We'll get into the concept of what is heap, what is leak, all these things in detail. But I want to give a preview on what happens when there's a problem with the memory in my program, how am I going to monitor it? How am I going to profile it using the tool? And how am I going to debug it? Now, when I run a GC, it came down a bit, but not much, right? So, with this, I could see there could be obvious results where your jar file could throw out of memory exception if it is very too bad. If it is a small leaks, you would still be able to find out by running a GC and looking into the recovery. You'll be able to at least observe or decide there are going to be leaks, right? So once you know there are going to be leaks using the JProfiler tool, and you'll be able to go to the I think it got stopped. Let me again rerun it, or rather think with the time what we have, right? So this is what we are going to see from the JProfiler. From the memory aspect, we are going to create Java programs which is going to have memory leaks, and we as a performance engineer, as a black box, we are going to run this application. We are going to run these jar files, and using JProfiler, we are going to come here. We are going to let me anyway do again start this and also show how we're going to take the heap dump here. I'll attach it again. So again, there's a new bid came here. Okay. How are we going to look into the objects which are leaking? What are the major collection that is happening? How the GC activity is happening? And how are we going to identify the class file? How are we going to identify the particular strings or arrays or objects which are not properly handled by the programmer? Okay, that is our intention, right? Our intention is to suspect the leaks. If you suspect the leak, then get into details about identifying the which class or which objects the problem is coming, or the root cause of the problem. So those things we will do it using the both with the JProfiler as well as with the JVisual VM kind of a tool. There's a question from Anil Chaudhary. Yeah, Anil.
Hi, very good morning. Two questions I have. So, first thing is like JProfile we're going to use for the app server entries, right?
For any service where you have a piece of Java code that is running, and whichever service you want to profile, correct.
Okay, and what tools we are going to use for the entries of web server?
See, when it comes to your profiling, right? Say there is going to be a server, and your application Java is going to run inside your JVM, right? So what we're going to profile here is the JVM to find out the leaks in your Java program. So your Java program is going to compile, and it is going to get executed in a JVM. And in JVM, there all your memory is going to get created, retained, destroyed. So to understand the heap behavior, we are going to access the JVM. To access the JVM, the tools are going to be your JVisual VMs. You're going to use JProfilers, and there are modern tools available like Dynatrace, AppDynamics, which can also do the pretty same job.
Okay, so it means that wherever, like irrespective of the server, wherever Java basically is actually you are using, we can use JProfiler, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason is, see, the Java, the JDK itself is going to have set of tools. Wherever you're going to go and deploy your Java application, it would require a JRE, a set of JDK tools, right? And there you will have JVisual VM, you will have JConsoles, you will have Java Machine Control, which will come along with the SDK, which you can use it. You would still need a remote access to those port for you to do the profiling, because you are going to be in a remote place, and your servers are going to be in different place, and you're going to connect remotely. But still you would be using the JProfiler or other tools to connect to your application server to do the same activity. Only difference is you would be doing remotely. I'm doing it in my own system.
Okay, sir, just last question. So
Sure.
right now you are doing the analysis based on the memory of your memory. So this analysis you're doing for which server? If I want to understand if it is from web server or app server, then what will be your answer?
Okay, so currently I have deployed a Java application into my Tomcat. Okay, and I'm running it. But when you see my profiling rate, it is up to a process ID. So all the process ID that is going to run in a server, first we need to get the process ID of your application, which you're going to profile. Once you get the process ID, then you will be able to attach those process ID to a profiling tool, whichever profiling tool. Right? So even if it is going to be your it is going to be Tomcat or it is going to be WebSphere or JBoss, inside that you will deploy this your application. It could be a jar or it could be a bar, and underneath it, it is going to be set of your Java programs, which is going to run in a JVM. So the profiling part or the understanding how the memory is handled, it is within the JVM, and that is what we are trying to analyze it. To answer
Okay,
your question, I'm using a Tomcat deployed with the Java application.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Okay, so that yeah, so the memory leak and garbage collection go hand in hand, right? The leaks comes because GC couldn't able to remove those unused objects. We don't need to worry about all these terms in the terminology, right? Like your leaks, the references, objects. Let's get comfortable with all these things in the upcoming session before even we go into this level. But again, the idea is to give you what you're going to expect out of these sessions so that you will get confidence about the next sessions. So the session 4, session 5 will be on the memory leak, taking the them, analyzing it with the real-time application, real-time problems, and then debugging it, finding a problem, and then we'll also go and fix those problems and rerun it. Okay. Next would be on threats and threat dump analysis. Again, when we talk into performance issue, right? That is always going to be performance issue,
Prem, one
memory
quick
issue.
question.
Yeah,
So
please.
are you gonna share all code snippets with us using some file share?
I can do it for sure. Yeah, the WAR files, the code which is there for creating all this problem, we can share it using any of the commonly available forums to GitHub or it could be through some drives. Definitely, yes.
And when we do, or when you are doing, are we gonna do along, or are we gonna only watch that? So that is my question. That we will do our hands-on on our lappies as well, or we will only watch you doing it.
It is going to be mostly I'll be doing it, you'll be watching it. But I can also do what I can do is I can send you across these things probably tomorrow, right? So we will have a weekend for you to set up your environment. Tomorrow, anyway, the session will be on setting up the environment, setting up your development environment, right? Once that is done, I can send across these WAR files and code snippets. For the weekend, if you have all these tools and setup done, you would be able to even do it alone. But the problem is within the 1.5 hour session, if you have a problem with setting up a tool or configuring it, you will not be able to troubleshoot and fix it. But definitely you will be able to do it along with me. If you take an extra effort to do that, I think that would be excellent. But
Okay.
yes, I can provide you that. We have a buffer of this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, right? Where you can go install all these tools. I can probably share you the list of tools and where you can download it, and also I can provide you this WAR and code snippets. Yeah, to make you do it along with the codes. Does it answer your question?
Yes, Prem. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's move on, right? So threat and threat dump analysis is another very important aspect as a performance engineer. We are going to see, especially during the load testing, right? Or still till now, what we have seen so far is your response time analysis, memory leaks at a unit level, at a program level. When we do a load testing, we end up seeing response time problem, right? Um, uh, multiple logins, multiple people concurrently log in, you're going to see the problem with the response time increasing. It might be because of some configuration at the web server level, or it could be problem deep rooted into a code level as well. If there is going to be a problem at the code level, how are we going to find a problem? How are we going to go and fix it? So that is how we are going to look into when we talk about the thread and thread depth analysis. I wanted to show you a small a problem which is having a thread. Let me do it quickly. Right. So let me open my Eclipse. This is my project. Let me run this. Okay. I'll also open another tool so that you can take a look of the visual VM as well. I'll go here. I'll open the visual VM. So visual VM again, it comes along with your development kit, which you can use it to again get an insight on what is going on inside your JVM. Okay. Okay. I'll close the JProfiler. So it is going to run dynamically, deploying it to a Tomcat server. Okay, it has started. So let me go to the other port. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to open a 2 sessions. One, I'll duplicate this. Okay, and then I'm going to enter this. Okay, I'm going to do a login here. I'm going to do a login here. Okay, and the first session has come. Second is still loading. Okay, let me go to the Tomcat bit. So what I'm saying is I could see the first is loaded, and second, in fact, first is still loading, and second is still trying to get loaded, right? So that is obviously some kind of a response time problem that is happening with the your application. Second is not even getting the initial HTML right. So when I go to look into the visual VM or JProfiler, right, what I will now look into is, first thing I'll go and check my call tree analysis, what we saw earlier, to see if there is any particular method is taking a time. Like what we saw earlier is there's an external call taking time. And then if one of my pages come and second page is taking time, so which means a concurrency issue, right? It is not a actual concurrency issue is when we are going to do a 20 user test or 100 user test. As you increase your users, you will see response time degradation. That is mainly because of the concurrency problem, right? Either server couldn't able to handle the load because of the available threads, or there is a problem with the code because of that it is making the threads to wait. For that, the way I'm going to analyze it, I'll go to something called threads. Okay, and then I'll redo it again. Okay, let me show a concept of what are the different thread status. How are you going to monitor it? I'll go back quickly. And then admin. Okay, so I'm doing it. Now if you see, there's a 2 thread started. A thread with execution 4, thread with execution 5. Execution 5, if you see, there's something called light green called monitor. Monitor is nothing but a log status. It is monitoring another thread for it to get into action. So that is not a good state. We should not see threads in a monitor stage. It is like a kind of a logged status, right? It is waiting for another thread to release so that it can do the processing. So which means there's a problem with the login code where one of the particular method or particular piece of code is getting logged for a particular thread. Now if you see, the execution -4 is now turning into park mode, which means it is releasing the log and now my execution file is moving into a sleeping mode. Okay, so now if you go and look into it, right, you would have got these screens. So okay, this is again a preview of how we are going to troubleshoot the thread problems, right? Typically, you're going to run a load test. You're going to have a lot of server users going to get started, and when you see slowness, this is one of the way you would be able to go into the Visual VM, pick your particular process ID, and then go into the different threads and see if there are going to be a thread with a log. And again, from here, you'll be able to take a thread dump, and ideally we'll take 3 or 4 or 5 thread dump to monitor the various thread that are created by your application. So we'll go through how to analyze these thread dumps. There are tools available, and you yourself can go and analyze the thread. What are the various parameters inside this logs? Which one we need to look into it? The thread state. So all these things we'll get into the detail about when we analyze the when we go for this session. But again, the idea here is to give you a preview of how are we going to deal about it, how we are going to get the session structured for a thread dump analysis. Okay, so this is all about troubleshooting the problem using the tools, getting the thread dumps, analyzing the thread dumps, and you would be able to comfortably do all these activities. Next is your client-side performance, right? This is again one very huge area. Though there are everything is optimized at the server end, right? You might still have a problem as an end user. When I say an end user, your load testing would be doing very good. All your response time would be within SLA. But when you're going to access it from the browser, right? None of our load testing tools is going to mimic your browser behavior unless you're going to use the true client protocols. Or Selenium kind of scripts to measure the response time, you will not identify problems at the browser level. But as an end user, right, you using Amazon.com at your home, right? So you won't worry about whether the problem is there at server or network or database or browser. You want the application to be faster. If there's going to be a problem with your client side, you're going to get impacted, right? So the client-side performance analysis is going to be very, very important for you to give a very good, rich experience to your end user. And we are going to go through a lot of tools as well for this. We are going to go through various recommendations. Recommendation, I would say, simple example, right? If you are in India and you're going to access the page, you can have the servers in India itself rather than you are having a server in your US or UK. Your non-HTML files, right? Your JavaScripts or style sheet, it don't need to get rendered from your US or UK. It can be rendered locally itself. So looking into this, all this call, where it is getting downloaded, whether the caching is handled properly. I'm going from a page 1 to page 2. The resources should be properly cached so that it is going to be fast. So we are going to look into various recommendations which we can give to developer. And for this, I think toolings are very simple. You can just look into your developer tools. There are good tools available within the developer Chrome itself, right? Say for example, you have something called Lighthouse. You can minimal level. What you can do is you can look into the F12 function, right? You would have seen it a lot of times when you are going to create a script. So developer tool itself will give you a lot of insight. It won't give you insight. It will give you a lot of data for you to understand a problem. You can just go click it, look into the headers, right? A simple thing is headers. You can look into whether the proper caching is followed or not. So if you see here, the cache control is there. It is kept for maximum age, which is good, right? Because it don't need to go to the server again to get the resource, and it is compressed. So content is encoded with the gzip. Okay, so these are the few things which you, as an engineer, you can look into each of the resource. When you see the slowness in your page, you would be able to do all these things, which I will explain it in a proper way, right? How are you going to go about it? Which tool you are going to use it? How are we going to look into the resources? What recommendation we can give it? So all these things are going to be part of your client-side optimization. There is something called audit, right? Lighthouse. plugin that comes along with your browser itself. You can just quickly go and generate a report which will tell you what are the areas you can improve it. Right. So this is one of the tool which we'll also get into the detail. There is also one more thing is how we can even automate the client side performance, right? Because typically, if you see automation testers, they will create Selenium scripts. So even instead we going and get this metrics manually, we can also rely on the Selenium scripts. When they're going to run it, we can get the metrics out of it. So we'll also look into those a few things, how we can insert few commands in a Selenium script, right? I'll also walk you through these things. I'll also walk you through the APIs that is available within the browser. There is something called navigation API, resource API, with which you will be able to get these timings. So performance timing for navigation start, end. So all these things you can get it from a automation script, from a Selenium script. That is also something we are observing commonly in the today's market. So this is about the Lighthouse report, right? When you run it for this page, it will give you a couple of metrics. It will also give you the recommendations, right? We'll get into detail about what is the recommendation, what is all about. So when you get into the client side performance engineering session, and as I said, right, the metrics. I'll also help you understand or how to get these metrics in through APIs. So it's all about making the best use of the developer tools rather than using the fancy commercial tools. We'll be able to get a lot of metrics from the browser itself, and from an engineering perspective, we'll use this data to provide the recommendation. Okay, so that's about the client side performance engineering. We'll get into the details about all these aspects when we get into that particular session. And next we'll go on to the so now we have done with the profilings, we have done with the client side engineering. Next is the monitoring strategy, right? You as an engineer, it's very, very important for you to set up right monitors. You know architecture better. You have gone through design phase. You know what are the components are available. For you to analyze during a load test or even in production, right? Unless you have right monitors, you have right configuration set for this monitor, you will not get the data, which means you will not be able to analyze it if there's a problem. So defining a monitoring strategy, both for your performance environment and for production environment, is very important. So you as an engineer, you have to do it, and we will see how are we going to define a monitoring strategy. And then we'll also look into the JConsole, how we are going to hook into a JVM and get this data for monitoring. We'll also get into detail about how are we going to use the Linux monitoring tools, like Nmons, VM stats, IO stats. So we'll have a practical session on connecting to a Linux machine, accessing the bits, and executing those to we'll do a similar exercise what you're doing in Windows, right? To see how these Linux monitoring is going to work. And I'll also to make our job simple, right? With the open sourcing options available, you don't need to even enter into Linux type commands. There are very simple ways to do it. There is something called Telegraph, InfluxDB, Grafana kind of a setup, where once you configure the Telegraph, all the data from your Linux service, like your CPU, memory, your network data, all these data can be pulled out from Linux box, and it can be sent to a dashboard or sent to a database where it will be easy for you to visualize it. So you don't need to go to each of your Linux box, type your commands like top or meminfo. Instead of struggling through all these various routes, we can also do this pretty simple. We know anyway Dynatrace or AppDynamics is also going to do a similar job, but in most of the organization, maybe a bigger organization might not have the flexibility of using AppDynamics or Dynatrace, right? So for you to look into it from an UI, we can also propose as an engineer to set up these right tools, open source tools. So we'll also in the session we will configure the Telegraph, take the data out of your Linux machines, and put it in the InfluxDB, and we will visualize it in the Grafana kind of a database. So idea is to you as a engineer, how are you going to strategize your monitoring aspect? how are you going to monitor your Linux boxes, what are the various performance counters, and we also go into the network monitoring tool, which is very important, and we will get an hands-on on the Telegraph InfluxDB Grafana app as well. Okay, next is the database aspect, which is again, that is a one separate tier, right? When we talked about all the JVMs and client side performance and the monitoring aspect, database performance is going to be again a very big topic. So earlier it is used to be only Oracle. Now with the NoSQL database picking up, we also wanted to see how are we going to monitor the NoSQL database like MongoDB or Elasticsearch. We'll get into basics about Oracle, how Oracle handles your process and memory, and we'll also get into detail about your analyzing your database reports like your AWR reports, and how are you going to set up your clustering when it comes to performance. Again, clustering is very important. Your recovery, your when something goes wrong with a node, how the database is going to handle the load and the request. So as a performance engineer, our role is to also monitor and see how these clusterings are done to meet the various requirements, right? So we'll go through the concept of clustering, we'll go through the concept of the recovery strategy, monitoring of Oracle, MongoDB, Elasticsearch database, okay, as part of the session 9, okay. And then, now, see, so far, right, I think what we are seeing is traditional way of doing it, right? We are going to profile the Java applications, we are going to find problems, taking dumps, monitoring the database, client-side performance. One more important aspect in today's, at least DevOps world or cloud world, right? Resiliency is also is part of the performance engineering. Resiliency is nothing but when something goes wrong, still how my users are not going to get impacted. So I might have a CPU problem. I still might have a memory leaks. I can still have a server crash because whatever you optimize it, there are still going to be a problem, right? As a business user, how resilient is my systems are going to be. For that, resiliency engineering, resiliency strategy is going to be important. We will go through the concepts of how Netflix has designed a chaos monkey, right? A monkey plugging wires of different servers and creating various problems, how my application is going to behave. So that's a concept of resiliency. We will go through how resiliency is done, why it is important. We'll go over a couple of scenarios where in a particular node, the CPU is more, how it is handled. You would have heard about the auto scaling, load balancing aspect, right? So all these things will come into picture. The cloud, yes, auto scaling is there. It can easily spin up multiple machines, even if there's a problem with a particular server, right? But how are we going to test it? Doing that auto scaling, how is my performance is going to impact it? All these things are going to be part of my resiliency engineering. Okay, this particular topic is going to talk about detail about what would be our approach for a particular architecture. How am I going to define my resiliency strategy? Resiliencies could be at a database level. It could be at the server level, right? So we will be looking over the all the details in the particular session. And then I'll go over the production monitoring. I talked about SDLC cycle, right? If you clearly look into my sessions, I started in the beginning where I'm going to profile it. I'm going to find problem during the development stage. And then I'm going into the client-side performance. And then it is more about my preparing my application for production, like doing resiliency engineering. And then now my app is ready. How am I going to define my strategy to monitor it properly in the production as well? I want to have right alerts set so that if it's a problem with my end user in production, how is my synthetic monitoring and real user monitoring is going to work? So all these things are going to be part of my production monitoring. Okay, and we are going to go over a couple of tools which are going to be used during a production monitoring. Okay, so we'll go over how Dynatrace, AppDynamics is going to help in setting up these synthetic and real user monitoring. Okay, this is going to be more of a theoretical session because we'll not get into real production activities here, right? But we'll still talk about the concepts. We'll still talk about how we need to set up these synthetic monitoring. How can we reuse the Vuegen scripts? How we can reuse the Jmeter scripts? How we can reuse the Selenium scripts? And what are the metrics we are going to look into the real user monitoring, which is going to help us in defining our workloads as well, right? So all these things we'll talk about in the this session. And okay, this is another big area, right? So far we have seen about web, but we know we all using mobile, right? Android mobile, iOS mobile. In India, it is most of us are using Android, right? In US, it is more of iOS. And when we say native app, right, when we are taking from Play Store or App Store, those are still apps, still programs that are going to get executed in your device. And there are going to be problems. You would have seen app crashing, app slowness, app eating battery, right? All these are, again, problems which has to be analyzed by a performance engineer when it comes to mobile. So we'll get into detail about how are we going to handle the mobile native app performance, what are tools we are going to use it, how are you going to monitor the Android or iOS. So this is a very deep dive session on mobile engineering, where we'll specifically dig into a Android aspect, concepts of CPU, memory, crashes, heap dump. All these things are applicable for mobile as well, because that is again a small piece of application which is running in your mobile hardware. So your mobile is a server. You're installing an app from a Play Store. It is going to consume CPU. It is going to consume memory. It is going to create problems. And we, as an engineer, have to analyze it, debug it, provide the recommendation. So this session is going to be completely on mobile engineering aspect. And then finally, we will end up with the DevOps and cloud as well, right? Because now everybody is talking about DevOps, everybody is talking about cloud. So even if you could get into basics of all these things what we have talked about, still there are going to be questions around DevOps or cloud wherever you're going to go, right? When you're going to attend an interview or whenever you're going to get into a project, they're still going to talk about DevOps or cloud because it's all very famous jargons nowadays, right? So we should all, at least as a performance engineer, we should know how are you going to set up this continuous testing, continuous monitoring. We'll probably set up few Jenkins job, connect to Jmeter, and we'll also get into AWS way of monitoring it, right? We talked about JConsole, JVisual VM to collect metrics. How can we do it in the cloud world? So if it is going to be Amazon cloud, how are you going to use CloudWatch to get these monitoring? We'll get a hands-on into how to access the AWS console, how to configure CloudWatch, how to get metrics. So those hands-on session with the AWS cloud as well as on the DevOps. We're not going to go into a deep dive because this itself is a very huge topic. But with my whatever I have seen, we are going to get questions very often, at least about the basics of all these things. So we should know what is what. So for that level, we'll get into the details, concepts. We'll also show some practical way of creating jobs, running it from Jenkins, connecting to AWS, and then connecting to CloudWatch, and running few applications, monitoring it. So we'll do it in the this particular session. And then usually this non-functional requirement engineering strategy would be beginning of most of the engineering sessions, right? But I wanted to keep it at the last, just because one is it's completely theoretical. We don't want to go into theoretical in the start. And second is, once you know about all these basic components of heap, stack, heap dumps, clients and analysis, right? You would be able to define your strategy properly. You will be able to define your NFR properly. So I would rather say we'll go into get all the details about the engineering activity, and then when we now talk about the strategy, you yourself will be able to easily chart out all these things, right? You'll be able to easily understand what it is going to be there in the engineering strategy. If I'm going to talk about in the beginning, it's going to be more of a black box, which I don't want to do it. So that's how we are going to wrap up the session. So a series of session is going to be on the concepts of Java, profiling, using tools, creating problems, debugging it, fixing it, client-side performance, server-side performance, and then resiliency and mobile performance. And then we will end up, how are we going to draft the strategy? How are we going to look into NFRs? That is where we are going to end this batch. Yeah, so I'll probably stop here. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Prem, this is Anil. So you talked about that thread of analysis. So I would like to understand, like, the thread means the users that we are usually used for running our scripts. Is that so, or it's something else?
Okay. The name thread is something relevant for most of the concept, right? In Jmeter, they call the user as a thread because if you see script, right? Script is a code which is going to run in a Jmeter. So for a Jmeter context, that is a thread. But what we are going to look into is the application server threads, where you're going to enter Amazon.com and it is going to go and do a call to your backend server. There is going to be one thread that is going to be used in your application server, which is going to connect to your JVM. That thread is what we are going to deal about, not the load testing tool threads.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Prem.
Yeah. Yes.
This is Kirti Kumar. You have mentioned about these 14 sessions, right? So, how long will be the each sessions?
Each session is planned for 1.5 hours, anywhere between 1 or 10 minutes to 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it is planned, and yeah, it is going. It will go up to probably 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. So yeah, it will be definitely minimum of 1 to 1.5 hours for each session. It will have a logical conclusion, so that it might be 1 hour 15 minutes or 1 hour 30 minutes. It might go over a little bit more than 1.5 hours. But each session will be planned in a way that it is logically started and logically ended.
Okay. Okay. It will be in the weekdays only, or what?
It will be mostly on weekdays, but once we finalize the enrollment rate, once people are enrolled, we'll also get your views, whichever every one of us feels which is correct, we'll go with that. Majority of that, they feel only weekdays, we'll go with only weekdays. If people say we can also do it over the Saturday, we'll also do it. So it is up to majority of us to, it's our preference. But initially, it is now planned for weekdays, 5 weekdays.
Okay. So all these training videos we will be getting, right, as part of the course.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
See,
Prem,
yeah.
Prem, these videos will be downloadable, right? We can download it, right?
I don't think you'll be able to download it, but you will be able to, for sure, you will have access to it continuously. I'll check it and get back to you, but it might not be downloadable, but you will be able to access it over this server.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But I'll get back to you. I'll probably send a message in the WhatsApp once I get that confirmation. But for sure, you get the video. For sure, you will be accessed over the server continuously as long as you wish to see it. Whether you will be able to download it or not, that part I'll update you in the WhatsApp group.
Why I'm asking, because I have taken the course of true client scripting from Kumar Gupta sir. So that video is not downloadable. Only we can access it via net. So that is the question I'm asking.
Okay, then it will be same. Yeah, it is going to be pretty much same. You'll be able to access to our server.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no timeline, like only to this duration or this many months you can access.
No. No. Whoever is going to get enrolled into the session, they will have access to the videos for whenever how much time ever you want. There's no time limit at all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hi Prem, will we get like these practical sessions like this heap dump and all this and thread dump and all this like practical things? like that you are creating a memory issue thing, and you're showing like how to take dumps and analyzing the dumps also, no? The practical session.
Correct. Um, see, during a session, right? That's what I'm going to do. Explain you theoretical concepts, and I'll go over doing the practical things and so on from me. But you can also parallelly set up all these things in your laptop or probably in your desktop. And I can provide you all the tools where it can be downloaded. I can provide you this WAR file. I can give you the code, which you can put it in your machine. And if you wanted to do it parallelly, you can still do it. Or if you want to do it maybe after the session in the daytime, you can also do it. Yeah, that is how the session is structured.
Yeah, that is what I'm asking. When we open like this heat dump, there
Mhm.
will be like multiple parameters will be like how we need to check where is the issue that we are going to
Yeah, yes,
address.
absolutely. I'm saying right.
Yeah,
We'll create
yeah.
problems. We'll create problems. We
And
will debug it. And
how to analyzing the where
yes,
the
yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, yes. Complete end to end, right? You will look into the code which is creating a problem, not at the beginning. First, we will
Yeah.
run it as a black box. We'll use a tool, suspect the problem, and then debug it. Find out the class or object which is having a problem. Go into the terms, go into the thread terms, find out the problem, and then take that and go into the code and look into it, fix it, and then rerun it, and then you will see how the tools are now showing a better results. So complete end-to-end picture, you'll get it. As a performance engineer, you'll get what you want. Even at the code level, as a developer, what he is going to do, that also you get it.
So, Prem, last question. This side is Anil again. Sorry.
No problem.
Uh,
Go ahead.
yeah. So I'm just saying that I just need one favor from you. Maybe when the actual class will be started, can you
Mhm.
please suggest to me like a step-by-step process, like how performing engineer has to be started. Like I have suppose I have generated the report in the HP Analyzer. Now I'm able to see like the response time is okay, but there is still this his percent or throughput percent is not actually correlated properly. So from there, how I will start debugging and what are the steps basically I have to follow for initiating the performance engineering first step. So like this first step, I mean step by step process. Can you please help me at that point of time? I mean step by step, like how I will proceed and drill down in different servers with the help of different tools. So in this way.
Okay, it is more about how are we going about your troubleshooting problem, right? Where to look, when to look, where to look,
Correct.
where to start.
Suppose sir we have three entire base architecture, like we have a web app and DB, and we have a network as well. So where and how and what are the steps, what are the tools that we are going to use, I mean successively to drill down for, to narrow down the any issue. So it's step by step structure, I mean ways to figure out my own way of getting these things. So means a basic structure way
Got it. I
I
got
would
it.
like to.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure, sure. Yeah. Yes. So when the monitoring strategy, right? The monitoring strategy will cover these things.
Okay. Okay.
And Prem, one more thing. So you are covering couple of topics in each section. So if you give the additional topics which helpful to enhance our knowledge to do self study, that would be much helpful.
Okay, fine. So
Because it is highly impossible to cover each and everything in a 1.5 hour session. At least you can give some topics in each session. Like these are the additional things you can go through. So we can just Google it and enhance our knowledge. That will be very helpful for us.
sure. So whatever even I have done it for my own work or my knowledge, right? I'll probably share it. That should not be a problem. Just noting it down.
Hi Anil, it's Aditya. Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Currently I'm working like all my life. I have worked on .NET environment only. So, are we going to use any .NET tools? Because I have seen all the tools regarding to the Java application, but I have worked only in .NET. So, is there any option you are going to provide?
See, okay, this entire session, it's pretty much going to be for Java. Sorry, your name? Your name, please.
Hi, this is Aditya.
Aditya. Okay, Aditya. Okay. So the concepts and the way things are analyzed are going to be pretty much common for Java or any other technology. But very specific to tools, I think we are going to stick to Java for this entire session, Aditya. Yeah, .NET will not be covered. Um if you have any specific expectation from .NET, right, let me know. But probably I will not be able to cover it for the session since at least I don't have much of exposure or experience to .NET, right? So it is not good to do it. So yeah, it is going to be completely for whatever topics we spoke about in this today's session, right? That is what we are going to cover. .NET is something we will not cover here.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Prem, this is Subbu. So I have two questions. So
Yeah.
are we going to have this session for like 21 days? And do we have a time specification or a day specification of how long will it be? And then next question would be like, would we get the offline support, right? So if we complete the session in 1.5 hours, and after that, if you have any questions, would you be able to support maybe to answer some of the questions in form of an email or something if you send? Would that support be available at least for those 21 days?
Okay. See, first question is the schedule wise. Yeah, it is going to be average of 1.5 hours for every day. Okay, and it is from today to it will go over for 15 days or 16 days to cover these topics. Okay. Total of 20 to 25 hours a day. That is how it is planned. So depending upon once the people are enrolled, depending upon their everybody majority of preference rate, if they only include Saturday or not. Yeah, it will be 1.5 hours per day, and it will go over 15 to 18 days. That is going to be the session planning. Second, Um, offline support during this 3 weeks wait uh, will not be able to support in terms of troubleshooting it, in terms of setting up your own missions. That is going to be a little difficult for sure. But as other people asked, right, to provide additional information, say it could be deep dive into a particular area where I can share the couple of websites or the forums or the Stack Overflow forums and all those things I can do it, but supporting it offline, depending upon case by case, right? Certain things, yes, we can definitely help you. Um, but extensively, there won't be any support offline for you. See, in case if you wanted to access any of the missions, right, where you wanted to deploy this to, if you don't have a laptop or if you don't have a permission with you, if you want to use any of the lab mission, that is something we can also talk to Kumar and see how we can get access to that. And there will be a lab admin who can help you in installing these tools. Those support you will get it, but more into the extensive support of again explaining it, the concepts. Those might not be there during offline hours, but it is going to be case by case. Basic things which I can answer it very quickly. Yes, we'll be able to support, but no extensive support during offline.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. If you still have any other questions, right, you can probably drop a message in the WhatsApp, or you can also convey that to Kumar Gupta as well. Any questions on the session durations or how it is going to be planned, the videos download, the questions around how we can download the videos. Those questions you can